Hi, Jennifer. How are you today?
Great, Beth. How are you?
I am doing very well, thank you.
Good.
And how was your weekend?
It was great. We went to a music festival, which is one of our loves. So we were out in the middle of the mountains with the leaves changing at a very intimate festival and some amazing live music. So it was a great
That sounds
weekend.
that sounds
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, that sounds very, very nice. It was a gorgeous weekend. Well, I think it was a nice weekend here. A little bit cool, but still very nice.
Yeah, we
Perfect.
were camping. So it was a little
Oh,
cooler than expected,
yeah.
but that's all right. We had a good dancing to keep us warm.
There you go. Keep active.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Jennifer, thank you for taking time to talk to us. And just as I'll do a little bit of an introduction to you. Jennifer Sullivan is the owner of Sullivan Travel Advisors, and you're the co-founder of Encore Retreats. So I want to talk about both those businesses today because they tie together. And let me just ask this question because your background in hospitality and going to travel. So what made you decide to get out of hospitality and start your own business and travel?
That's a good question. What it boils down to is I had a really big shift in my perspective about travel, and I wanted to follow my passion and bring that perspective to other people. So there were two things that prompted this shift. And again, kind of putting it very simply, but we went through tremendous change, which included a move abroad and a breast cancer diagnosis. And then there was a rub between my family's personal lives and my professional life.
Yeah.
So a lot all at once.
Yes.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
all good too. The outcome of which is all good, I should say. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's good to know that is October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so I'm glad to hear that that is um, right now a very happy note, and that you are. My understanding is you are cancer free.
8 years, 8 years cancer free. But again, that was kind of the first thing that started changing my perspective on travel. And I can kind of explain that a little bit more. Back in 2027, we had made the decision to move our family to Costa Rica with our two kids, who were at the time 11 and 14 years old. We had sold our house and most of our things, and we're renting it back while the kids finished up school here in the US. And at the same time, we were getting all of our routine doctor's visits done, including our mammogram. And that's when we heard the words that just stopped us in our tracks. You have breast cancer and it's already spread to your lymph nodes. So um, ultimately, that made us revisit our decision to move abroad. Um, but I became very determined not to let flipping cancer take away our dream. And it really became Costa Rica became my carrot through chemo and surgery and radiation, and even um, having being apart from my family. My husband moved with the kids ahead of me so that they could start school on time while I finished treatment here in the US. So, but 3 months later, I did join them, and that sense of victory was one I will never ever forget. So, as I said, that's kind of the first thing that made me realize my perspective on travel was changing. Everyone hears, of course, life's short, travel while you can, but
Really.
it got a little deeper than that. I realized that travel could also be an incredibly powerful motivator and a beautiful way to celebrate resilience or success when you overcome
Yes.
whatever was difficult. So,
No, that's a great point. Of you get to the end of that tunnel. At any goal you achieve, you need to celebrate,
yep,
and even more so, in my opinion, you got to celebrate life's wins when you overcome that kind of challenge.
yep,
So,
yep, exactly.
when you talk about your family and what all you went through, how did that affect work in your professional life?
Yeah, so I was with an amazing company for about 20, 22 years. I loved the company, still do, think the world of it. They were great in letting us move to Costa Rica in the first place and work remotely from there.
Great.
But as I said, part of my story involves a time when there became a rub
Yeah.
between our personal goals and my professional career. Um, After a year of being in Costa Rica and working remote, they said that they could no longer support that for different employment law reasons. So I needed to make the choice of either moving back to the States or leaving my career and really my identity. Um, and it wasn't an easy decision by any means because I carried our family's benefits, which obviously were very important to me at that point
Oh,
after the diagnosis, but ultimately we decided to stay. And that was another one of the perspective changes that really led me to feeling confident about making a change that wasn't necessarily on my timing, but was, I think, perfect timing in retrospect. We were learning so much by being immersed in a different culture. We were learning about being a minority and what that felt like. We were learning about different traditions and cultures, and I think ultimately it really made us more sensitive. And all of that is what led me into wanting to share those different reasons for or perspectives on traveling with others. And I felt I could do that best by opening up a travel consultancy. So that's how J. Sullivan Travel Advisors was born.
okay. And it is. It sounds like it maybe it was before your cancer diagnosis, but it sounds like people in purpose have kind of driven your values.
I hope so. I would
Okay.
love it if that's what people said about me.
Okay.
It certainly what motivated our move to Costa Rica initially was our kids. So many people talk about doing something like that when they retire, but we really wanted to experience it with our kids. And I'm analytical, so everything has a number, right? We had three goals. We wanted them to realize that life wasn't the suburbs, the US suburbs, where you could get everything within a 6 mile radius, and if not delivered directly to your house in 2 days. So really, we wanted them to realize how lucky they were. We wanted them to learn a different language because I think it's humbling that we're the only country that predominantly speaks only one. And then I also wanted them to be very confident travelers. So
And I completely agree with you. Travel has so many benefits. And, I've shared this with people. For me, it makes me grateful for what we have when you travel to countries that even aren't third world countries, but just to know what they have and what we have and what we take, I think many Americans take for granted. And what you learn and what you can how you grow and how you can open your mind by having those experiences, I think is so worthwhile. And um, one of the questions I was going to ask you, I think you kind of already answered was like, tell me, when people in purpose become more than profit. And I think you shared with me, that's a very tough decision you had to make with your job. And it was personally, at that point, very worthwhile for you to be able to choose your family.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Another I had another opportunity to reinforce that learning. So J. Sullivan Travel Advisors started in early March of 2020. Fantastic timing.
Yep.
Um, and I realized quickly that at that time, Jay Sullivan was focused on group travel. I was trying to take my hospitality background in group sales and parlay it into a business that would help other small companies that didn't have in-house meeting planning teams plan their own meetings and incentive trips. So I quickly realized that group travel was not going to be coming back anytime soon during the pandemic. Companies could not mandate that their employees travel, but that leisure travel would rebound faster. And at the same time, again, the world works in beautiful ways. At the same time, a woman that I'd met in Costa Rica approached me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in starting a retreat business for women?" Um, and that was perfect. You know, again, I knew leisure travel would come back first. So investing in developing Encore Retreats um, became a huge passion project to the point that I put J. Sullivan Travel on the back burner for a little bit. And we really started focusing our work and designing retreats for women who were going through transitions. You know, we worked with predominantly very business savvy women who were used to being in control and having clarity, but found themselves in a transition point that made them question that. So, while running retreats is not a profitable business because the margins are so small, the rewards of seeing the transitions and the huge decisions that these women made with confidence right after the retreat was incredibly rewarding.
And that's important. I mean, again, you demonstrate why business is important and making money is important, but for many people, there is an underlying purpose. And I think for everybody, there is an underlying purpose. It's what it is. And I think for you, Jennifer, in our initial conversations were, it's about other people. It's about, supporting other people going through maybe something I went through, or just knowing that I can make someone's day a little bit easier, a little bit better by
Yeah.
doing our retreats, or to your point earlier, helping plan a travel, a vacation for a family that's overcome a challenge like you and your family had to overcome.
Yeah. I've become a very firm believer that there are many different types of currency that we can use to pay ourselves for our work. And much to my husband's dismay, money is not my primary currency, but it is a feeling of fulfillment and being able to help others. So it is very people focused.
But in that currency, though, is also one that probably could be traded more. Um,
I hope so. It
yeah,
certainly is in other countries.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
It is valued. It is valued more, I think, other places, to your point, than it may be here in the U.S. But I think in the U.S. there certainly is enough people who will trade on that currency of let's do what's right for others, because that's what also we would want done for us. So
Very much so.
circle of life.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
so when you think of your brand, because you made a comment earlier and you said, "Well, I hope that's how people think of me." So when you think of your brand, how do you hope, or how do you want people to remember you?
I would love it if people felt like, or my guests felt like they were genuinely cared for. Um, you know, a lot of times I am working with women, but through both Encore Retreats and now with the resurgence of J. Sullivan Travel, you know, women's groups of all different kinds and makeups. So, you know, I want these women to feel like someone else is anticipating their needs and taking care of all the logistics and taking care of them for a change. Because I think so often women are often in the role of doing that for others. So if I can do that for my clients and make them feel like I genuinely care, then I think I've done good work. I'd love to be remembered for that.
And that's beautiful to hear that, because that is what you want, and what your values and your mission is about somebody else, and someone else having that wonderful feeling, that joy that you can bring to them, that's what's important to you.
Yeah, and it's not just me. I don't want that to sound so self-focused. I want them to experience the joy that and the expansion of their minds that immersive, purposeful, people-centered travel can bring them as
Yeah,
well, you know.
yeah, and
I
I
was
meant that through your work, you're bringing
Yes.
them joy, and hopefully not just a wonderful experience, but it is maybe a trip that they need at that point in their life because of what they're going through, or a big a trip for the girls, it's all about celebrating, having fun, and being able to be with other women and have that support.
Yep. I think there's huge benefit to women surrounding themselves with other women, be it people they know or people they don't know.
I agree.
We've seen that at our retreats time and time again. Often women don't want to come on the retreats with someone that they know because they want the freedom of complete anonymity, to really let their guard down, and go through the work that needs to be done to come out on the other side feeling really confident about the changes that they find themselves in. But there's also something to be said for a good old-fashioned girls' weekend too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
love helping plan that. And I have to say, in full disclosure, that's where the idea of moving my family to Costa Rica came from. I was on a girls' trip, with women that I knew from my first career. And one of them had moved to Costa Rica, and it just really inspired me. So,
There you go.
you never know what's going to happen at a girls' weekend.
Yeah, well, a lot of good things can happen, but
Yep.
what happens on a girls' weekend stays on a girls' weekend.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yep.
So if we think of your business, what's next for you and your business?
I'm really excited. As I said, mentioned briefly, J Sullivan Travel Advisors is back. I just relaunched it, and took a huge step in investing in the leisure travel part of my business. So I will still definitely work with the companies. I think my niche is, or where I offer the most value is the small companies, as I said, that don't have their own travel planning companies, and really focusing on their incentive trips. Again, the people I want to be part of the trips that motivate others and celebrate their success. Um, and then, of course, my retreat work can also apply to, the higher level executive meetings, board of directors. So the group side of my business will always be there, but I wanted to grow the leisure side and being able to help people with their personal travel. And I just am so excited about having joined a host agency. Another very small boutique woman owned business, um, run by a younger woman who has been really successful and is now to the point of taking on just 3 more women, to teach and mentor. And for my clients, that means I have now access to a lot more resources and
Great.
unique experiences that I can offer them. So I'm super excited about that.
That is wonderful.
Yeah. And then ultimately, the goal is to make both of my businesses, J Sullivan Travel and Encore, worker board friendly. We are going to be embarking on another adventure, America's Great Loop, in hopefully 2027, where my husband and I will captain our own boat and do a 6,000 nautical mile trip around the eastern seaboard and through the rivers in the central part of America. So I do
Wow.
plan on continuing to work and look forward to figuring out what that work aboard situation entails. So again, balancing my
Yep.
professional and my personal.
Well, my last question for you, I always want to give people the ability to have a magic wand. So
Uh,
if you had a magic wand and you could remove one frustration or one thing out of your day-to-day work, what would it be and how would that change things for you?
this is purely magical, right?
It's your magic wand. You can do it.
Okay. I would have no learning curve. I would
Okay.
be, I would just be really good, really fast.
Okay.
I come from a corporate culture where excellence was expected, and certainly is how I conduct my life as well. It doesn't necessarily allow for me giving myself much grace when it comes to learning new things. And I am learning that the leisure travel industry is so different than the group. So, I'm having to be patient with myself, and also realizing that with your own business or businesses, you're not just doing the thing you love, but you're also the IT specialist and the marketing agent and the CFO. So if I knew how to do all that really fast, I would not be as frustrated as I sometimes get.
It is true. It is true. As small business owners, entrepreneurs, we often wear many, many hats, and as our businesses start to grow, sometimes there's so many hats on top of our head that it kind of weights us down, and we have to figure out how to work through that. And it sounds like you are doing that. You figured out that, I don't have to wear all the hats. And certainly your ability to take time to think and strategize, how am I going to do that? Certainly sounds like it has helped you become the person that you are today.
Yeah. And as I said, joining this host agency, the woman who owns it, Katie Franks of Mayclaire Travel, she's really a mentor. She is also a female entrepreneur, and she's gone through the learning curve, and she's not just sitting back resting on her laurels at this point. She's trying to take other women under her wing and teach them. And I really respect that. So,
And that's powerful, because as women, it's not there shouldn't be a competition between us. We should be certainly willing and supportive of anybody that we can help and support to take that step that they're trying to take.
collaboration over competition.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there are enough things and people that will tear us down. I think we have a responsibility to our other women colleagues and friends to build each other up.
Absolutely. Jennifer, is there anything else you want to share about J. Sullivan Travel or Encore Retreats?
I am so appreciative to you for giving me this opportunity to better articulate my values. The beyond the bottom line really says a lot to what motivates me. So kudos to you for giving people like me an opportunity to share our why and a little bit more about our businesses. And hopefully this, resonates with someone and I can help them either with their company travel or their individual travel. I would love that.
Absolutely. And folks, the links are below for Jennifer's websites and to learn more about her personally, but also about J. Sullivan Travel and Encore Retreats. So I encourage you to go through and learn more about it. And Jennifer, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Beth. I appreciate it.